So why do you think people are leaving? Why do you think? Do you think it's the organisation don't want people to stay for so long?
I think it's like a. I don't know about that, but I think it's. I don't think they're doing anything to address that problem. But I don't know if they want it. I just don't think they really care when it's happening. But I think it's like a perfect storm of everything, really. Like I think the public perception's probably never been worse of the police. Quite often unfairly, but it's probably never been worse. And all you see in social media is like if you're a young guy or girl looking to join the police and you're looking at all the videos on social media, it's like, why the fuck would you ever want to do this? All the police do is get the piss ripped out of them. And that's like a perfect storm of the policing standard probably not being good enough. Because as you say, when we joined, it was like a wealth of experience that would never take the shit that people deal with down the street. When you see videos of inexperienced cops with cameras in their face, they just look like rabbits in a headlight that can't deal with it.
Hmm.
Whereas if you're talking about those kind of experienced cops, they would never fucking entertain that in a million years. Like it would be dealt with immediately. So I think when people have seen that, it's like, well, is that the reality of what the police is like? Like I don't want to do that. And then when you talk about it, I could talk about the fitness standards all day, but like the fitness standards have dropped. The entry in general just dropped. I know a couple of people in recruitment who have said they've had applicants who have turned away, and then they realised, shit, we actually need to fill numbers here. They phoned them back and said, listen, I know we said you weren't good enough, and you come. So like you're saying, it's a
Oh,
perfect storm
really?
of people like, I don't know, the experience in the shifts becoming mega low, but then also the standard of people coming in is not quite hitting the target it used to. So when you've got that perfect storm of like the blind leading the blind into response policing, really, because like you say, most response shifts now are operating with a team pretty much of people just out of probation or still in a probation. So it's like, if you think back to when you were just out of probation, you didn't really know everything at all. If anything, do you know what I mean? You're still learning. So you're then trying to learn, but then showing someone else what to do when you don't really know yourself. So there's cops going about completely unsure of themselves, completely unsure of what they're doing. So when they're getting confronted in social media and stuff, they end up looking idiots because they don't know how to deal with it. And it's quite a lot of it's not their fault. But yeah, I think the standard of policing is probably dropped a decent bit in response shifts.
What do you think needs to improve? Things need to improve, Andy, because I know what you're saying. Because the experienced cops are leaving, and because they're then hemorrhaging staff, they're lowering the standards for cops to get in. Because the organisation, I mean, I had a colleague who always used to say this, and I used to think she was quite cynical. Whether I now completely agree, is that it's all about bums on seats. It's not necessarily the experience, but how many how many sets of handcuffs do we have on a shift? How many bums are on seats? So what I mean, the number one, pay. You know, cops need to be paid more because even when you look at, they say, oh, well, a cop earns, 30, 40 grand. Yeah, but then you take away the pension contributions, and when you're on the top pay, I don't know what it was like for Police Scotland, but when you was on top pay, you were paying £500-600 a month out your wage into your
Yeah.
pension. So your actual take home pay, real take home pay, is fucking minuscule. And yes, that's fine if you go the full 30 years and you get your big payout and your pension and everything else. But, for everything you do, if you only intend to stay in or you want to stay in for like 10 years, you're basically being paid utterly terribly for work, which you should be paid a hell of a lot more.
I think one of the big things, I don't know what it's like in England, but in Scotland, I feel as though the response shifts, all the shite just slides downhill to response shifts and lands at their door. Like they deal with everything.
Exactly the same.
And if you're a response cop these days, all you want to do is get the fuck off the shift because it's terrible. You get held on all the time. You don't get your breaks. You don't get this and that. You're doing night shifts. Whereas if you can sneak off into the department and just hide in a cupboard for the next 5 years, you get the exact same wage. So I think if you're trying to keep experience on the shifts and do what everyone joined the police to do, is actually be a response cop. To me,
Mm.
that's what being in the police is. But so many people
Yeah.
just want to get away from that now because it's like it's so bad that it's like why would I do that if I can get to a wee cushy unit or a cushy number that I can pick up the same wage, do Monday to Friday 9 to 5, and not deal with any of this shit you need to deal with in the street now. I think if you start to incentivise being a response cop, it would encourage experience to stay in the shifts, and then in turn, it would just make the shifts better. And like that would have a compound effect of making people want to stay because it's actually quite a good place to be. You get incentivized, extra money for being there, and also just have better people there as well, more experience.
I completely agree. I think it's bollocks that if I'm on a response shift, fucking scrapping with some shitbag after I've just been to 5 or 6 awful incidents, and then you've got Joey Cop who's on a unit sat behind a desk doing case files, earning the same money. Granted, I might get unsociable hours pay, But for the extra 100 quid a month or 200 quid a month it is, I think I'd much rather have my evenings and weekends and my regular sleep pattern and, my fitness all right and everything else and less fucking mental health issues. So I completely agree with you, mate. I think there has to be a lot more incentive to keep people on response because if response disappears, everything else crumbles, doesn't it? Response is like the fucking table, which everything else is rested on. You lose response, you're kicking, the rest of it crumbles and falls to pieces. And I'm actually quite worried about the future of the police because we need really good cops. And I get loads of people message me, I'm sure you're the same, saying, I've had enough, I want to leave. And people go, oh, should I join? And I always say, yeah, join. We need good cops, we need good officers. And I'm sure with what you do, mate, is that you support people in the emergency services to, have the best career possible with the health and the fitness, which is amazing that you do that. So I think we need to really incentivize people to stay on response because it's where all the crazy stuff happens. Like you said, it's seen as the dumping ground, as the shit ground, but it's actually the most important part of policing. I think is those cops that do turn up and deal with things. I mean, I had some fucking great times on there, but also I had some pretty awful times as well. And I know a lot of people that are in the same kind of boat. So yeah, closing thoughts on that, mate. What's your closing thoughts on that story, and what do you think needs to change?
Like I say, I think what we're speaking about now, like it makes sense to me, it makes sense to you. People have lived it, but I generally don't think it will change. I don't think they care enough to really think about that. As long as you say they've got bums in seats and numbers, then that's all that matters to them. So I don't see it changing, which is a shame. But I think it could be so much better. And I think the main drive. I don't know how you address the kind of lack of quality applying, um, because the job's becoming so much less appealing than it was maybe 10 years ago. All the incentives are kind of drying up, I suppose. And when all you see in social media is the police getting absolute piss ripped out of them and kind of dealing in I don't know, in terrible circumstances, it's hard to say that's a great job, go and join it. You don't really see anything good,
The
so to speak.
organisation needs to back cops a lot more as well, I think,
Yeah,
because I did a video. I did a video yesterday, and it's you've got inexperienced officers starting who probably shouldn't be in the job, but they're being brought in because of the recruitment standards because experienced officers are leading, so they need to backfill. But equally on top of that, you've also got cops who are actually afraid of getting hands on with somebody, or they're afraid of being robust. Which that's what the public want, isn't it? They want the public to tell the shitbag to fuck off. They want them to chase the Billy burglar and drag them to the floor, and to be robust and to be harsh with the people that deserve it. But yeah, if they do that and they make a complaint, they're up for the high jump with the job. So if you're 10, 15 years in and a complaint sticks, you're potentially looking at not just getting sacked, but maybe even a criminal investigation as well. So I think, as well as everything else we said, I think the job just needs to look after its actual employees better.
I know of two or three people over the past couple of years who have been investigated for something basically a load of shite, like complete load of shite, but they've been off work for a year, over a year at times. Um, like the investigation takes so long to actually get started, so people are sitting wondering about their actual career for a full year, and it might sound great. Like, to me, it sounds great getting full pay for doing nothing. But like, if you need to think about if you've not got anything else lined up you want to do out with the police, like that's fucking stressful if you've got a family and everything else. So even that, like, it's just the way they treat people is pretty poor at times.
Yeah, I totally agree.